Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm going to talk about processes and how they can make or break the experience that you provide for your client. Stick around if you are frustrated not getting what you need and want from clients, and to find out if you're unknowingly making it hard for your clients to work with you. A lot of designers, unfortunately, lack streamlined processes. After all, we're creative people, right? But having them in place sets the tone for the relationship with the client so that you look professional and as an expert, sets you up for a smoother work process, helps you stay on track with deadlines and invoicing, and sets expectations for the client so they know what to expect and when, eliminating the potential for confusion and any nagging emails. This all results in a positive experience for your client, and positive experiences lead to good testimonials and reviews, word of mouth referrals, and clients coming back again and again with more work. Now, because sometimes we don't know what we want until we realize what we don't want, I've got a ton of information for you based on my 21 years of experience. So let's review a lot of ways that you can streamline your processes and create a positive experience for the client, from the first time a prospect or client contacts you all the way through project completion. Let's start with scheduling a consultation. It can be really frustrating getting interrupted by a haphazard phone call while you're working on something else. If you take the call, that frustration may come across in your tone. Well, you can remedy this by using a scheduling tool. You can put on your website or in your email signature a link that allows someone to schedule a call with you. This ensures that you'll have set aside dedicated time to give them your undivided attention. They should appreciate this because I'm sure they wouldn't be happy about it if it were their project you were working on when you got interrupted. Using a scheduling tool also eliminates phone tag and all the back and forth emails or the CCing you on their team emails trying to find out who's available and when. Pick a tool, set the hours you prefer for calls, send the prospect or client the link, and let them pick a time that's convenient for them. There are several apps for this: Calendly, Acuity, Bookify, and a slew of others. And Zapier did a review of the 17 best online scheduling apps, so I have a link in the show notes for that, and you can check that out there. The free version of Calendly does enough for my needs, so that's what I use. The client simply clicks my link, chooses a date and time for my available time slots, and puts in their name and number. They can also select if they prefer a phone or video consult, and then we both get email notifications of the scheduled call and a reminder email later on. If they opt for a video call, then I'll use Skype or Zoom, and I provide that information in the scheduler. They both offer free plans, and the prospect or client does not have to turn their video on if they don't want to. I've noticed some of my clients are more camera shy than I am. Many people are already familiar with Skype, but a client may not have it at their office. And Zoom is easy because you simply send a link. With a free Zoom account, you can have a call with up to 100 participants and hold an unlimited number of meetings. The caveat is that there is a 40-minute limit on meetings of more than 3 people. If you exceed that, you'll see an alert pop up asking if you want to pay to continue. Luckily, it doesn't seem to just cut you off after 40 minutes. A couple other options for phone and video calls are freeconference.com and freeconferencecall.com. Now, when it comes to sending estimates, proposals, or contracts, I doubt you're mailing out paper documents and awaiting signatures via snail mail. But if you're not using proposal software such as Better Proposals, Proposify, BidSketch, or something else that has e-signature capability, then consider this. If you are sending clients PDFs of contracts that they have to print out, sign and fax back, or take a pic and scan or email it back to you, boy, is that a lot of work you're asking them to do. That's not a good way to start things off. You don't want them to wonder, if just this part is so difficult, what will it actually be like working with this designer? So make it easy for the client to say yes and start working with you. Run, don't walk to your computer to get yourself a modern, professional, easy-to-use e-signature tool. There are several that I recommend depending on your budget and needs. The first one is HelloSign. Before using Better Proposals, I used HelloSign and it worked really well. I had just a free plan and I would upload PDFs that I created from InDesign and prepare them in HelloSign by adding in fields for signatures, names and dates, and then specify who each of those fields was for me or the client. It didn't take too long and it did the job. HelloSign is free for one user to send out 3 documents a month. And they have paid plans to accommodate more users, more templates, and unlimited documents. & is free and allows you to create proposals, estimates, and contracts. Adobe Sign is another option, and that may be included as part of your Creative Cloud subscription. eSign Genie allows you to upload your PDF or Word files and provides status notifications. And it's $2 per document with a $10 minimum. I tried it out and I found it pretty easy to use. You always want to follow up after that, whether it's a new prospect or an existing client. I recommend sending a handwritten card thanking them for the opportunity and saying that you look forward to working with them. This will really help you stand out because most designers do not do this. If you did not present the proposal in person, it's also a good idea to call to say that you just sent it because you never know. It could go to their junk folder and then they'll think you just never sent it or that you're no longer interested. And then just thank them for the opportunity and let them know that you're available in case they have any questions. Then, until they sign the agreement, every 2 to 3 days or so, gauge the situation for yourself based on their responses or lack thereof, and you probably won't get a response, and that's fine. Send an email with a link to a helpful article that is relevant to the work, whether it's one you've written on your blog or it's from another legit source. For example, if the work is a redesign of a website, send a link to an article that talks about the elements of an effective homepage. For a logo redesign, you could send an article about the importance of a good brand or why logo design is so important and shouldn't be skimped on. And then just say that you hope that they find it interesting. Other ideas could be emailing a link to a page on your site or an infographic that talks about your work process or diagrams it out. Emailing a testimonial that you got from another client about similar work you did for them. Bonus points if the testimonial includes the results you helped get for that client. You could also email a link to a page showing similar work that you did for another client. Whatever you do, don't ask if they got the document and read it. It makes you appear needy. You want to provide value, appearing helpful, not waiting with bated breath. They got your email, they see your name, they know they owe you an answer. By the way, I have to give credit to Troy Dean of WP Elevation for this brilliant method of sending a series of helpful emails, which he calls anti-follow-up. Setting a schedule. So in the proposal or estimate stage, or sometime before starting work, you may need to create a schedule specifying when the client needs to send their content, when you'll be providing first, second, and final proofs, or if it's for a website, any wireframes, when the client will provide feedback and edits for those proofs or wireframes, and when the client will provide final approval. And for print work, you need to account for time for printing, usually 10 days. And for website work, you need to account for time for developing, testing, launching, and checking the site. You can set up a schedule to share with the client with any of the following: a spreadsheet, a custom Google Calendar, TeamUp, or Airtable. Let's talk about sending invoices. There are so many ways to send invoices, but there are tools that make it easier and faster to get paid and for the client to pay. Personally, I prefer checks in the mail still or bank transfers because there are no fees. But if a client can click a button and pay online while they're so excited about that estimate or proposal, why should you stop them? There are several accounting programs out there that allow you to send one-time or recurring invoices. FreshBooks, Wave, Xero, that's with an X, Fiscal, and QuickBooks. Now, if you use a full spectrum project management tool, then you probably won't need any of these. For example, I send invoices through my project management system, which is Pancake. And I love that it's only $149 one time, by the way. There's no recurring costs. The client will get my customized email with a link to the invoice. They can then click a button to pay on my website through Stripe, PayPal, or Authorize.net with the bank account or credit card, and then they can download the invoice. If they do pay online, then Pancake records the payment and any fees associated with it, and I can charge their card for subsequent projects, with their permission, of course. After getting a signed contract and first payment, it's time to start work. But first, you need to get the job set up on your computer. I do that, and then I also set up the project in my project management system. I highly recommend using some kind of a consistent naming convention for all your projects. I've always had a system where I give a project a unique number and a name. And that way, when I have jobs of the same name, say an ad I created 2 years ago and now the client wants to make edits to it, I know which version is the latest one to pick up from because of that unique job number. So I can easily search for it on my computer or external drive with archive jobs. Now on my hard drive, I have several folders inside a main folder that's called projects. And those folders are labeled 1, in progress, 2, estimates sent, 3, to be invoiced, 4, waiting for payment, 5, archive. And that last one's for completed jobs, which then get copied to external drives. And I put the numbers in the name so they appear in that order in the folder. And I leave the in progress folder open in the window so that I can see all of the jobs that are being worked on at that time. When I first set this up, I also dragged and dropped each of those folders over to my sidebar of the window so that I could see all of them from any window that I open on my hard drive. I then have a folder for every project named with the job number and title, and I store everything for that particular job in it. So administrative type files for estimates, invoices, and emails, and I call that folder admin. And then files that come from the client are in another folder. I put proofs in a proofs folder, and then I put final approved PDF files, whether they're for print or for web, in a folder called final. See the website for screenshots of my setup. I drag the individual project folders as needed to the folder that corresponds to what stage the project is in at that moment. So I can always see where each job is and what needs to be addressed. I might have 10 jobs in the in progress folder, and then I've just finished one, it needs to be invoiced. So I drag and drop it from in progress to be invoiced. And this helps me to invoice in a more timely manner. And clients appreciate getting invoices promptly. So that's how I organize them on the computer. And you could also replicate that setup in Dropbox or whatever cloud storage you might be using. Then in my project management system, I set up the corresponding project by number and name. The project management system allows for all time on every job to be tracked, whether it's a flat or hourly rate, and it shows all the invoices, estimates, client info, and everything else with every job. If you think I've gone off on a tangent and you're wondering, what does this all have to do with the client? Well, when you're organized, you can better serve your clients because you can find information and files more easily. So when they ask you if they've already sent you such and such file for a project, you're able to easily look for that project, see the corresponding files, and then respond to them. Now, if you're missing any files for a project, you might realize it before the client does and ask for it without waiting to the last minute, which makes you look like you're on top of things. Also, if they ask, hey, remember that brochure you did 2 years ago? We need to make edits to it. Do you still have it? You will know how to find it either by searching your project management system or your project folders on your hard drive. Plus, being an organized designer sets you apart from the majority of other designers who aren't. So that's my setup. You can organize your projects any way you like. Just make sure it works for you. That you can find projects easily, see what needs to be worked on now or later, and know what needs to be invoiced and when, and so on. I spent months researching and deciding on a project management tool. As I mentioned, I use Pancake because of all its functionality and the automations, and you host it yourself, so you don't have to worry if the developers ever go out of business because you'll still have everything. But it's also really inexpensive. So if you need help managing your projects and staying on top of things, some others that I've tried out and recommend are Dubsado, which is full of bells and whistles and automations, and it has excellent support and a very active Facebook group. Trello, which you could use to show each of your projects on its own card, then move the card to another list as needed based on the status of the project. So the lists would be named by this, whatever the status of the project is, like in progress, to be invoiced, etc. And then you have those lists with the names, and the projects would each be on their own card, and you would drag and drop the card between the lists as needed. And then Plutio, which starts at $15 a month. But I hate those recurring charges. A few others that I haven't tried out are Project Panorama, which is a client dashboard and project management plugin for WordPress, and a colleague of mine really likes that. And I also have some colleagues who use 17 Hats, and that's $199 a year. So you're not paying by the month, but you're still paying by the year. Once you've got project folders set up on your hard drive, then you're all ready to get and organize the content from the client. And of course, content refers to any text and images and sometimes other files like PDFs or videos that they might send you. Here are my recommendations based on clients sending me undesirable file types or from the questions I've gotten from clients over the years. So for text, tell clients how you want them to prepare their text files. Provide some guidelines, such as the following, although unfortunately only expect that the first one might be adhered to. One is that they have all text edited and proofread first, unless you're going to be doing any proofreading. Otherwise, if they make major changes to the text later on, you may have to redo the entire layout, and that will cost them time and money. Or, depending on your contract terms, you might end up sucking that up. Two is to use styles in Word, especially for long documents, so you can easily distinguish what level a heading should be, like top or second level, or what should appear in a sidebar, what's a pull quote, what's a caption, etc. To use only a single tab when aligning text, not like 20 tabs in a row, and use center alignment, not tabs, to center text. You also want to tell clients what formats you prefer. For text files, it's usually .docx, .doc, or .txt. You definitely don't want a PDF to copy text from because that's going to retain line breaks, which you don't want, and it doesn't allow you to import text in InDesign, and it doesn't use paragraph or character styles like a Word document might. Well, there's hoping, right? You also probably don't want a publisher or PowerPoint file, but maybe you don't mind that. If there are any data tables, the client might have them in a spreadsheet, in which case XLS format would work. Some clients propose sending you some text to quote unquote get you started. Just say no. I've often seen the text change drastically from the first to the second draft, requiring that the entire design be redone. Do you prefer that the client send all files at one time or as they have them ready? So specify that as well. Personally, I don't mind getting files piecemeal as long as they're final, meaning edited and proofread. If clients will be providing any photos, there are several guidelines that you can provide to them. First, around permission and attribution. A lot of clients want to use images found through a Google search, which is not okay, and will open them and possibly you, depending on your contract terms, to copyright infringement, which could result in hefty legal fees. So if the client will be providing any images, let them know that they should have obtained any necessary permission to use them unless the images belong to them or they're certain that they are not protected by copyright, such as images from the public domain. If there are any people in a photo, the client should have obtained written consent from them. And if there are minors, it's especially important to get consent from a parent or legal guardian. Whether it's a photo that you find or that the client provides, find out if any credit line needs to appear. Not doing these things would not be a good experience for the client. If something were to happen, they would wonder why you never brought it up. You're the expert who knows more about these issues than they do. Ask clients to obtain the highest resolution and largest dimensions possible. Explain the importance of proper resolution so that images look crisp and not pixelated at the size that they'll be used. If they provide crappy images, ask for better ones. Don't let them be surprised when they see the final result, which is equally poor. Ask clients to send images in their native image formats, not embedded in a Word document. So JPEG, TIFF, EPS, PDF, etc. for print work, and those formats, or PNG or GIF for website-related projects. Ask clients to clearly name any images that they make reference to in their text documents so that you can easily identify each one. It simply isn't helpful, especially when you have tons of photos that are named DSC and a number. Having to go back to the client to ask who's in what photo, who this is, and what this photo is for isn't fun for you or for them. Let's talk about reviewing content. If you happen to spot something unusual or questionable in the client's copy during the layout process, bring it to the client's attention and ask them about it. They will appreciate the attention to detail, but never change it without telling them. Despite all my years of experience with proofreading and editing, I have seen a couple rare situations where a word that seemed definitely incorrect was indeed correct. And if you have a suggestion for a better way to arrange the content, present that idea to them, because you'll be seen as the expert, not an order taker, and they will end up with a better result. Always, always, always double check your work before presenting it to the client. You want to check that the specs of your document, colors, dimensions, folds, etc., match any specs that you may have been given. And if you got print bids based on your work, you want to make sure that your work still matches the print specs because you might have made some changes and now you need to make changes to the print specs. If you did some masking in Photoshop, then what I do is I temporarily add a stroke to the mask. I use a bright color so it's easy to see, and then I zoom in to check for any parts that I might have missed. You definitely don't want a client to tell you that you missed a spot. Zoom in on images in your proofs to check that the points on shapes connect where they should, and that elements line up where they should, and that nothing overlaps where it shouldn't. I go into a lot of detail about setting up and preparing documents properly for printing, so check out episode 3, Perfect Your Print Process, for more information. Now, when it comes to presenting design comps, there are several ways that you can present your initial design proofs. You can do it in person, which personally I never do, a PDF or image file via email, which most designers do, InVision, which allows you to upload images and have others comment and reply. A lot of designers use that for websites, but you could use that for any kind of design, really. You could do a live screen share with the client on Zoom or Skype or something else. Or you could do a screen recording on Loom that the client can view at any time, and you can see when they did. The screen share and recording actually provide a really personal touch. Whichever method you choose, though, be sure to explain your design approach and how it achieves the client's needs and goals. When it comes to getting feedback on your designs, how do you prefer to get it? For print work and sometimes for websites, I prefer PDFs marked up or with comments. One thing's for sure, I do not want a new Word document. I doubt you do either. Whatever process you have, that's what the client should follow. That's how you work, and that's how you work most efficiently. So just spell it out. For instance, I have a page on my website that talks about the do's and don'ts for providing feedback based on my preferences. So I send that link to the client if I need to. I also explain why I want them a certain way. So for example, I tell them it's more efficient to see the edits where they appear in the layout. And it is. But I also am saying to myself, I don't want to spend time searching for edits in a Word document, even if your changes are tracked, and then having to search for the corresponding text in InDesign. Also, it's super frustrating when multiple contacts working on the same project send you their own separate PDFs or emails with changes, only to find that some of them conflict with one another. I'm getting irritated just thinking about it. It means you have to spend time going back to all of them and find out which changes are fine to make and which aren't. So I always tell the client that there should be one designated point of contact for the project, and that person is responsible for going through any group edits that they may have before they come to me. Let them argue about it amongst themselves. Now, I've heard a lot of clients and their copy editors complain that they feel the need to babysit a lot of designers because the designers miss some of their edits or comments. This couldn't be any easier to prevent. If you get a PDF with changes from a client, the first thing you should do after opening it is to open the comments panel. Then you can just sit there and literally check off each of the comments as you make those changes in your source file. And then what I do is save the PDF file after doing that, because if you have to come back to that list of comments later, you know which ones you've already addressed. And then you can easily filter and see the ones that you haven't checked off yet by going to comments, clicking the filter icon, and then going to checked, and then selecting unchecked. Easy peasy. Another thing I do is I always leave unchecked anything that I need to ask the client about. So I can go right back to that PDF and filter by unchecked and then draft my email when I'm ready with my list of any questions of anything that needs to be addressed. This is especially helpful when working on large publications. If the client sends edits in another way, always go through the edits and make sure that they're done before sending a revised proof. Let's talk about delivering files. Isn't it irritating when the client asks you a third time for a vector file of that logo that you designed 2 years ago? As if you have all of their files available at your fingertips at any given point in time, right? Well, what if they could help themselves? If you had a client portal where they could access proofs or final files, then they could go get those files themselves. Some project management tools have a client portal built in, like the one I use. If you just want a client portal, though, there are several other tools that provide this functionality. WP Client, which is for use on WordPress websites. Client Portal, which integrates with WordPress, and you can brand it. And then there's Huddle, which is able to be branded. Of course, there are also cloud storage options such as Dropbox and WeTransfer and Hightail, but then you're limited to space and having to upgrade for more. Let's talk about asking for feedback. You do that, don't you? Upon completion of a project, you want to ask the client for feedback, such as, how did you find the experience of working with me? What did I do well? What did I do not so well? Is that uncomfortable? Scary? Yeah. But the answers will help you improve your process and provide a better client experience to the next client. And if you get positive feedback, ask to use it as a testimonial. When a client pays the final invoice, my project management system sends out an automated email that includes a link to a page on my website with a short form with similar questions and a link to leave a review on Google if they want to do that too. So I hope you now see that when you have processes that make for a better client experience, it builds trust and confidence with that client. And then they take you more seriously and perceive you as a professional. And you can work more efficiently, you can charge more, you get more referrals, and you can have a more successful business. I want to end by saying that I'm not advising you to run out and get all or any of these shiny objects. Just consider how one or more of them could save you time so that you can spend time getting new clients and not messing around as much with administrative tasks that suck up your time. or provide convenience for you and your clients, and make you appear more professional, especially if you're trying to get bigger clients. I would love to hear what you guys are doing or what software you might be using to make the experience better for your clients. So please contribute to this conversation at creative-boost.com/podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Go to creative-boost.com where you can sign up to get notified of new episodes and posts, share on social media, or leave a comment. Thanks so much for listening.